Well guys, I did it again. I bought another vintage snowmobile. This one is actually quite nice, not like all the rest that I usually buy. So found this on Facebook Marketplace recently for a very, very good deal. As you can see, pretty clean, nice windshield, recovered seat, extremely clean tunnel with graphics still on it. You can tell it hasn't been outside because the tank shroud isn't faded. This should be a 1983 Enticer 300, guys. It is missing the snow flap on the back, which I can fix. And there's some miscellaneous little studs in the track, not too worried. Track is extremely nice. Original track, of course. So, gotta put a snow flap on it. The front end needs some work, and the ski department is not great. The only blemish I saw, which really sucks, is there's a hole in the left front belly pan. I don't know if somebody was trying to make like a side exit muffler at one time, maybe. The motor appears to be like rebuilt. I'll show you guys the up close on that in a second. You can see like fresh Yamaha bond and then like fresh gasket. You know, you can see it kind of sticking out on the Y pipe. So possibly a good sign. I had Caleb actually go and pick this up for me. He said it did run. It just idled and it would bog when you hit the gas and it would die, I believe is what he told me. Fuel lines look like they've all been done. The airbox is in there. The fuel in the tank smells okay yet. Tank looks clean. The cap is not broken on the tank. So I think I did pretty good. It's got the typical vent issues with broken vents, like most of the Enticers. But I've always wanted one of these 82, 83 color schemes, and I finally got a 300. This one I think I'm gonna keep and ride on some vintage rides or just bomb around the fields here just because of how nice the condition is cosmetically. It'd be a shame if I, made it into a race sled or, something else of that nature. I'd like to kind of keep it nice. Not gonna do like a full restoration kind of thing like that because that's just not what we do around here, but it'd be nice to have a clean vintage rider. I have the clutch guard right there. Just took it off. I was inspecting some things. Clutch guard, super nice. And just there's not a lot of rust on this machine, guys. We'll need some hood straps eventually. The hood itself is in very, very good condition. Foam is all in there yet. Still has the sticker on it with all the specs. Headlight, the toolkit over there. The exhaust pipe needs some fasteners like in the back and the spring for the neck of the pipe and some new header exhaust springs. Those are not the correct ones. Has the original carburetor on it. You can see some fresh fuel lines and vent lines and all that good stuff. I believe those are OEM original spark plug caps. And then you can see the motor is just extremely clean. Extremely, extremely clean. There's a little bit of wetness down here. I don't know if that's just because it got rained on last night a little bit outside or if there's something leaking. But we're gonna find that out eventually. I just couldn't believe how nice and clean this machine was for the price I got it for. The choke lever is partially broken, I think. Maybe not. Maybe these are just stubbies. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I had one with a working choke, so that goes to show you something. This side just as nice. So what I think we're gonna do is get the airbox out of there and just see if it'll run. See what its symptoms are. If it's bogging, will it run on choke? The typical stuff. And then let's pull the carburetor, go through it. Let's see if we can get lucky on this butterfly and maybe it'll run properly. See if we can get this clamp off the carburetor here. Can't tell what oil's in this thing. It smells kind of good. Just switches something, Quickly get that out. Airbox is out. Sweet. All right, guys, got it up on a track stand. There is gas in it. The airbox is removed. We're gonna try to just pull the choke and see if it'll start on its own. I do see some suspicious like wire wheel marks in the bore of the carburetor on the air cleaner side, so that's kind of suspicious. And like I said, I have no clue what somebody would have done, or if somebody was in here, you know, I have no clue. So I'm just gonna have to hope for the best. Well, that didn't run that bad. It's got a little bit of goofy sounding idle to it. And I don't believe any of the lights work. I thought they worked for a second and maybe they burned out. So we potentially might have like a voltage regulator issue or something along those lines. So that's kind of odd. But nevertheless, it did start on its own, and it runs okay with the choke off, so the carb's really not that dirty. I really should go back through it though, just to be thorough, to see what somebody else would have done to it. I do have it elevated up a little bit, so it's possible that it's flooding out maybe a fuzz. But, you know, we'll have to cross that bridge. But something in the rear limiter strap is kind of goofy there. The shock is actually touching the track. It also could be that it's just because the suspension is up in the air. I can't remember if that's a possibility or not. Now when it sits down, maybe that's cleared out of the way. But I think for what it is, very nice clean Enticer. At least it runs. And like I said, somebody was messing around with the wiring on the right-hand side near the coil and where the ground is on the coil. So I don't know what was going on there either, but I was kind of suspicious about the lighting situation because I thought I looked back and I saw the taillight and then it was gone. So I don't quite know what they had going on with that. And the clutches, I do believe, need to be cleaned out a little bit. And it desperately needs a new belt. At least it runs. I don't have to do a ton of work to it. That means I either have something with the voltage regulator or the wiring, or something's grounded out, and maybe I just have a carburetor issue giving us a little bit of a goofy bog and the weird stumbly kind of idle to it. It almost sounds like it's misfiring on one side, kinda. Just kind of weird sound to it. I could check the exhaust temps on each of the headers and just kind of make sure they're both firing. But just kind of seemed a little odd to me. What do you expect for a couple $100 on Marketplace, you know? This is what you get. It's always a lot of fun to diagnose and kind of see what somebody else messed up for you. That's half the battle. Until next time, this was another revival of old sleds. Not a lot of work was needed, which is usually a plus. So subscribe if you haven't already. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, so that'd be sweet if we could make it to that. And keep going from there. All right, buddy, what did we find?
First step of action, you check your spark bolts. Got 2 NGKs. Look at the back side. Yeah. Then you look there. That, and when we took them out, this one was nice and warm and this one was ice cold. So yep. This one had no sparky spark.
And that explains that weird noise we were hearing at idle. It was popping.
It was pinging and yeah.
Now we put in a set of BR9s.
Oh,
way better.
Woke her up, yeah.
Yep. Just goes to show you, kids.
Simple.
Simple.
Simple. Spark bolts.
Spark bolts.
Do not overestimate the power of the
And we just need to
bolt.
get rid of that Mitsubishi belt and then have ourselves a beverage.
Beverage.
But yeah, the Enticer, for what it is, we're gonna check voltage here in a bit with the meter. We're gonna go in the shop and see what kind of, if the voltage regulator did fail, that's a pretty quick fix, except for we need some light bulbs.